I never imagined I would one day sit down and recount this to the world. If someone had told me a year ago that I'd publicly share what happened to me during the minutes I was pronounced dead, I would have thought they were joking. But what Jesus revealed to me during those 7 minutes and 23 seconds, those exact minutes when my heart was completely still, has weighed on me ever since. With everything approaching in the world, I can't remain silent. My name is Brooke Anderson. I'm 34 years old, a registered nurse at Mercy General Hospital, and up until October 12, 2023, I was simply a regular mother of 2 trying to juggle work shifts, soccer practice, homework, and a spiritual life that I felt I was barely keeping upright. But that evening rewired everything I thought I understood. I was driving home after a grueling 12-hour ER shift. Rain hammered the windshield, making the streets shimmer with reflections. I remember thinking about my son, Tyler. He had a baseball game coming up the next afternoon, and I promised him I'd be there no matter how tired I was. That was the last clear thought I had before everything disappeared. Headlights drifted violently into my lane, and then my world snapped to black. Later, the doctors informed my husband that my heart had stopped for more than 7 minutes. They called it a miracle that I came back. But during those minutes that felt like an eternity to me, I was taken somewhere no human words can fully explain. And what Jesus showed me about how effortlessly people will one day accept the mark without even realizing it. That revelation still shakes me awake at night. One moment I was inside that crushed car. The next, I was floating above it. I could see the rain pouring down on the twisted metal. I saw paramedics kneeling beside me, moving quickly, their voices desperate. I even heard one of them whisper a prayer, thinking no one could hear him. I wanted to reassure him, tell him the pain was gone, that I wasn't afraid anymore, but there was no way for me to speak. Then it happened. A light appeared, not a natural kind of light, not from any sun or lamp. It was alive. It radiated from every direction, as though the very air had been replaced with something living, something intentional. The scene with the paramedics faded as I felt myself being drawn upward into that radiance. And then I heard someone call my name. Brooke. The instant I heard that voice, my entire being trembled. I knew, without a single doubt, that it was Jesus. I couldn't fully make out his face at first because the brilliance around him was overwhelming. But I recognized him the same way you recognize the feeling of coming home. As my sight adjusted, I could see him more clearly. His eyes. I wish I had words for his eyes. They held so much love, compassion, and understanding that I felt exposed and safe all at once. He saw everything I had ever done, felt, thought. And still, I felt completely loved in his presence. "My child," he said, and his voice didn't move through the air. It moved through me. "I brought you here for a purpose. What I am going to reveal must be shared. Many of my people are unaware, and the deception coming will be greater than anything they expect." "Lord," I said, though I wasn't sure how I was speaking without a body. "I'm just a nurse. Why would anyone listen to me?" He gave me a gentle smile, one that held both strength and reassurance. "I have always used the ordinary to confound the powerful. Do not concern yourself with who listens. Your responsibility is to speak. I will handle the rest." Suddenly, Jesus took my hand, and in an instant we were standing on what looked like a normal city street, but I somehow knew we were viewing something ahead in time. "Watch carefully," he instructed. "See how the enemy will lure even those who believe they are strong in faith." People walked up and down the sidewalks like any typical day, but something about their interactions felt different. More synchronized with technology than anything I had previously seen. A woman stepped into a coffee shop. Instead of pulling out a wallet or phone, she simply waved her hand across a sensor. A small glow pulsed beneath her skin. "Lord," I asked softly, "is that the mark of the beast?" "No," Jesus answered. "This is what will lead to it. Observe how the deception is introduced." Then the scene shifted, and I watched how this technology began spreading all over the world. It started innocently, as small chips meant to replace credit cards, keys, and medical records. Christians themselves embraced the convenience. They used the devices for everything: digital Bibles, church tithes, event check-ins. People accepted them without hesitation because nothing about it required worship or allegiance. It was simply useful. That's all. Notice, Jesus said with a tone of concern, how the enemy always begins with what appears harmless. Sudden changes would alarm my children. So he creeps in quietly, little by little, like a serpent preparing to strike. The technology in the vision became more advanced, seamlessly woven into everyday life. Soon it monitored health, predicted illnesses before symptoms showed, and subtly stabilized moods and emotions. It even nudged people toward decisions: what to eat, what to buy, how to think about certain issues. My people forget, Jesus said, that not every beneficial-looking thing comes from me. The enemy presents his deception wrapped in solutions. I watched parents eagerly implant their children. It keeps them safe, they insisted. It helps their learning. It gives peace of mind. And before long, society began to view the devices as essential, not optional. Lord, I said, how will people know when it becomes dangerous? Jesus looked at me with profound sadness. This is why the deception works. The enemy presents good, safety, and progress in order to mask the spiritual cost underneath. He showed me more scenes: families at dinner acting oddly uniform, their emotions uncharacteristically controlled, people relying on the devices to guide their decisions, soothe their thoughts, even override their natural impulses. Can't they see what's happening? I cried. They see only the benefits, Jesus answered. They don't recognize that they are slowly surrendering their ability to choose me freely. And with that, he prepared to show me even deeper deception. The scene shifted in front of me so quickly that I had no sense of motion. One moment Jesus and I stood on that future street, and the next, we were watching the world from a much broader perspective. It was like observing humanity through a transparent veil, seeing both the physical and spiritual layers at once. Look closely, Jesus said, his tone solemn. See how the enemy operates beneath what appears to be advancement. I saw cultures all around the world integrating this technology in different ways. In some regions, it was introduced as a groundbreaking medical innovation, something that could prevent strokes, detect cancers early, regulate hormones, and manage mental health. In other places, governments promoted it as a way to streamline money systems and reduce fraud. In still others, it was framed as a tool for child safety, giving parents the ability to track their kids and monitor their well-being. But regardless of the method, the message was always the same. This is progress. This is necessary. This is the future. This is good. Jesus' expression turned sorrowful. The enemy understands human fear: fear of sickness, fear of danger, fear of uncertainty. He offers solutions that appear to remove those fears. What my children fail to see is the spiritual exchange happening underneath. The vision zoomed in on a family having dinner. Parents and children sat around a table, their implanted devices subtly influencing their emotions. Conversations felt orchestrated, almost as if the family was reading from an unseen script. Their reactions were mild, controlled, unnaturally calm. They think this is peace, Jesus explained, but it is not peace that comes from me. It is emotional regulation produced by something designed to bind them. I watched as the devices suggested updates, mood adjustments, dietary recommendations, even thought corrections meant to promote mental stability. And the people accepted them eagerly, believing they were becoming better versions of themselves. Do you see? Jesus asked. They trust these devices more than they trust my spirit. The vision shifted again. I began to see how the technology infiltrated young minds. Children were taught from early ages that these enhancements were normal, even essential. Their schoolwork was integrated with the devices. Their emotions were monitored. Their social interactions were influenced. They grew up believing the technology was part of their identity. The enemy aims for the young, Jesus explained. They embrace change without question. What their parents would resist, their children welcome. My heart ached as I saw generation after generation becoming more dependent on these implants. Their spiritual sensitivity weakened. Their ability to discern truth from error faded. It wasn't that they rejected Jesus outright. It was that they slowly lost the ability to recognize his voice. How can they not see this happening? I asked, my voice cracking. Because deception thrives where discernment is absent, Jesus said softly. My people have grown accustomed to convenience. They no longer ask if something draws them closer to me or away from me. They ask only if it makes life easier. Suddenly, the entire vision shifted again, this time violently. I found myself looking at a world collapsing under chaos. Banks failing. Power grids shutting down. Supply chains breaking. Communication systems going dark. Fear ran like fire through every nation. This, Jesus said, is the moment the enemy has been waiting for. World leaders appeared on screens around the globe. They declared that the current technologies were no longer safe or stable. They urgently proposed a new, globally unified system. One more secure, more advanced, more reliable. The upgrade. Pay close attention, Jesus said. Watch how they present it. News anchors celebrated the innovation. Medical professionals praised its benefits. Religious leaders, some of the most trusted ones, appeared reassuring their congregations that this upgrade was purely technological, not spiritual. They pointed out that it didn't require worship or allegiance, and that therefore it couldn't possibly be the mark of the beast. Now, Jesus said, his voice gaining gravity, I will reveal what they cannot see. Suddenly, I saw the spiritual realm layered directly beside the physical. As people received the upgrade, I watched darkness, thin, creeping tendrils, slip into their spirits unnoticed. The horrifying part? On the surface, nothing seemed wrong. People still attended church. They still prayed and read scripture. They still spoke about faith. But spiritually, something deep inside them had quietly shifted. The mark will not come through force at first, Jesus told me. It will be embraced willingly. It will be desired, celebrated, promoted. That is why it will be so dangerous. I saw how the change affected people over time. At first it was subtle. Their prayers seemed hollow, lacking substance. Their worship felt mechanical. Their ability to sense conviction slowly faded. Spiritual discernment, once vibrant, became dull. Lord, I asked, why can't they feel what's happening? Why don't they see the separation? Because the change is gradual, he answered. Like water heating slowly around a frog, they won't realize what is happening until their spirits are numb. He continued, this is not just about buying or selling. It is about altering the very connection between my spirit and their soul. The vision moved to different groups of people. Some accepted the upgrade without hesitation. Others did it reluctantly but felt they had no choice for survival. And then there were those who refused entirely. These are my faithful ones, Jesus said, his expression soft. They shine brightest in the darkest times. Those who refused faced severe challenges. They lost jobs, access to food, medical care, and education. Entire systems were designed to pressure them into compliance. But spiritually, they glowed like lanterns in a storm. Angels surrounded their homes. Their prayers were powerful. Their discernment was razor sharp. They remained free. Lord, I whispered, how can people recognize this before it begins? And Jesus began listing the warnings. Jesus looked directly at me as the vision continued unfolding, and his voice carried the weight of both warning and compassion. Brooke, he said gently, my people must understand the signs before they appear, not after. Then he showed me scene after scene where the deception subtly tightened its grip. First, Jesus said, pay attention to anything that claims to improve the human body or mind beyond what I created. Enhancements that promise superior cognition, upgraded memory, emotional regulation, or physical optimization may look like blessings, but they will come with spiritual consequences. As he spoke, I saw advertisements promoting the next level of humanity. Bright, beautiful commercials showing athletes performing with superhuman stamina, students with perfect memory, workers with flawless focus and zero stress. The world celebrated it as evolution, as progress. But when Jesus touched my shoulder, he allowed me to see what human eyes couldn't. Each enhancement dimmed a person's spiritual awareness just a little bit more. Second, he continued, watch when convenience turns into necessity. What begins as a choice will slowly become a requirement. The vision showed checkout lines refusing cash or cards, only implant transactions. Then I saw hospitals requiring the technology for service, schools mandating it for student safety, workplaces insisting on it for identification, banks shutting down accounts for people who refused the upgrade. People weren't forced into it with violence. They were pushed into it by survival. Third, Jesus said, observe how the youngest are affected. The enemy always shapes the future through the children. I watched classrooms in which kids held out their hands to scan into the school building. Lessons integrated with their implants. Teachers praising students whose mental stability scores were optimal. Even games and toys were connected to the system. Children will accept the mark with the least resistance, Jesus explained. They will see it as natural, as part of their identity. My heart felt like it was breaking. Fourth, Jesus said softly, anything that pulls people away from my presence is a warning. If prayer feels distant, if worship becomes hollow, if conviction fades, those are signs of a deeper spiritual shift. He showed me believers who had once been passionate, crying out to God, loving scripture, standing strong in their faith. After the upgrade, they continued doing the same things externally. Church attendance, Bible reading, even teaching. But within their spirits, something vital was gone. The connection was severed, slowly and quietly. It is not that they stopped talking about me, Jesus said. It's that they can no longer hear me. The next moment, the vision shifted again. Darkness spread like a net over nations. Systems collapsed. Fear escalated. And suddenly, light broke through. A group of believers, those who had refused the upgrade, stood together, praying with intense conviction. Angels formed a protective barrier around them. I saw food multiplying in their hands. I saw sick people healed. I saw families preserved in ways that defied logic. These are my faithful ones, Jesus said with tenderness. I will never abandon them. I saw cave-like shelters filled with warmth and supernatural peace. I saw homes glowing with divine protection while chaos raged outside. I saw mothers and fathers teaching their children the word of God by candlelight. These children had a clarity in their eyes that the others did not. Just as I provided manna in the wilderness. Just as I fed Elijah by the ravens. Just as I protected Noah and his family. So will I protect those who remain loyal to me. My tears fell as I watched these scenes unfold. They were not frightened people. They were courageous, steadfast, filled with unwavering hope. Lord, I asked, how can people prepare for this now before it comes? Jesus' answer pierced me. Tell them to deepen their relationship with me now, while the days are calm. When the deception comes, only those who know my voice intimately will recognize what is not from me. He went on. Tell them to root themselves in Scripture. Every warning, every instruction they need is already there. I saw people studying the Bible with hunger and devotion. Families reading together. Youth memorizing passages. Small groups gathering secretly to pray. Tell them to form real bonds with other believers. Not superficial friendships, but genuine community. They will need each other in the years ahead. Then his tone shifted, gentle yet firm. Tell them to train their children. Teach them to love me more than convenience, more than technology, more than acceptance from the world. I saw parents kneeling beside their children, praying with them. I saw kids filled with courage and discernment stronger than many adults today. And above all, Jesus said, his voice filled with authority, tell them not to fear. I have already overcome the world. Suddenly, the heavenly atmosphere thickened. The colors dimmed. The light around me flickered as though something were pulling me away. It is time for you to go back, Jesus said softly. Lord, I still have questions, I begged. But he shook his head gently. What I have shown you is enough. Share it. Those who belong to me will understand. Then everything faded. I felt myself falling fast toward my earthly body. The sensation of gravity returned. The weight. The limits of human flesh. And then, I opened my eyes in the hospital bed, loud beeping filling my ears, nurses shouting my name. I gasped for breath as the physical world rushed back in. But one thing was certain. I did not return the same person. 6 months have passed since that night, since the moment Jesus sent me back into my body with a mission burning inside me like fire. Not a day has gone by where I haven't replayed everything I saw, everything he told me, everything he warned me about. The doctors still talk about it with disbelief. They say my recovery is medically impossible. No brain damage. No organ failure. No long-term complications. But they have no idea what really happened. They only saw the aftermath. I remember waking up in that hospital bed, my chest aching, wires attached everywhere, nurses shouting instructions. But my spirit was still burning with the weight of what I had witnessed. For days I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the visions again. The deception, the technology, the upgrade, the families being shaped without realizing it, the children being conditioned, the believers who refused it shining like stars in a darkening world. I tried to ignore it. I tried to pretend life could go back to normal. But every time I turned on the news, I saw glimpses of what Jesus had shown me beginning to unfold. Small things, early signs, but unmistakable. New biometric systems. New digital identity programs. New health monitoring technologies. New announcements about integrating devices with the human body. Every headline felt like a whisper from heaven. This is the beginning. Warn them. People began asking me what happened that night. At first I hesitated. I didn't want to be labeled as crazy or dramatic or delusional. But the more I stayed quiet, the heavier the burden became. Finally, after months of wrestling with fear, I realized something. Silence would be disobedience. Jesus didn't show me all of this so I could hide. He showed me because his people need to know what's coming. So I began sharing my testimony with close friends, then with small groups at church. Some listened with tears streaming down their faces, deeply moved. Others stared at me in disbelief. Some gently suggested I was overwhelmed or still traumatized from the accident. But then something unexpected happened. One night, after I shared my story with a women's prayer group, a lady pulled me aside and whispered, "I had a dream about the same thing." Another woman said she had been sensing the same warnings during her prayer time. A man emailed me later saying Jesus had shown him visions about technology becoming a spiritual trap. That's when I understood. God is warning many people. Not just me. Sharing my story didn't create fear. It created confirmation. People began examining their own spiritual lives more seriously. Parents started teaching their children about discernment. Families started praying together with urgency. Believers who had grown spiritually numb began seeking God with new passion. That's when I knew. This warning wasn't just information. It was preparation. I've been asked many times since then if I believe all technology is evil. Of course not. I still use my phone. I still use my laptop. Technology itself isn't the problem. The danger comes when it merges with the human body and begins to affect human thought, behavior, emotions, and spiritual sensitivity. Jesus made that very clear. There will be a point, he showed me this directly, where the line is crossed. A point where what looks like a harmless, convenient upgrade becomes something far more dangerous. Something irreversible. And once that line is crossed, a person's ability to connect with God in the spiritual realm becomes damaged. Sometimes permanently. That is why I am speaking now. Not to create panic, not to stir conspiracy, but to shake awake anyone who has ears to hear. Jesus said the greatest deception in the final days won't be loud, violent, or obvious. It will be quiet, attractive, logical, helpful. It will make perfect sense to the natural mind. And that is what makes it so dangerous. The mark won't begin as an act of forced worship. It will begin as an upgrade, a solution, a next step, a responsible choice. People will embrace it because it feels modern, beneficial, and safe. But Jesus showed me the spiritual reality behind it, and what it does to the soul. That is why I'm begging anyone reading or listening. Strengthen your foundation now. Jesus said those who will endure the coming deception are the ones who know His voice, study His word, stay connected to other believers, raise their children to love Him above convenience, refuse anything that dulls their spiritual senses, seek truth over comfort. He also told me this clearly. Tell them not to fear. He showed me that those who stay faithful, those who refuse the mark, refuse the upgrade, refuse the manipulation, will experience supernatural provision unlike anything we have ever seen. I saw it with my own eyes. Food multiplying in their hands. Homes protected by angelic presence. Children with a strength and clarity the world won't understand. Communities supporting one another like the early church. Miracles happening in secret places. These people weren't terrified. They weren't hiding in panic. They were radiant, filled with hope, peace, and courage. Jesus told me, "My faithful ones will shine the brightest when the world grows darkest." And then His final words to me before sending me back. Tell them the deception is subtle. Tell them to stay close to me. Tell them I am coming soon. That is why I'm sharing all of this now. Not to sensationalize, not to scare, but because I stood before Him, because I saw what's coming, because He told me to warn you. If you are listening to this, it is not by accident. Jesus is calling His people to be awake, alert, and anchored in Him. He is preparing His church for what lies ahead. The time is short. The deception is rising. The world is shifting exactly as He said it would. Stay close to Him. Know His voice. And do not fear. He has already overcome the world.